outside of the obvious, I mean, just been really trying to cope with everything. My wife and I went to dinner last night. We very rarely ever go on a date night. I got into her thoughts and feelings about the whole George Floyd tragedy. So, I mean, the focus quickly shifted to our own thoughts about what the world can look like for our two sons. We started discussing, really intent things like, considering this, do we need to expedite the talk? And I'm not talking about birds and bees here, but do we need to expedite the talk? My oldest is 6, my youngest is 2. I don't expect my youngest to understand, but I'm a firm believer in you start talking about it, and as they grow and develop, these thoughts, kind of mature in them, kind of like racism. Did I say that?
Man, that's so crazy to me. It's just like, that's not a conversation. I mean, even just being brown, like my mom and I had not even close to being a similar conversation. Like we had a conversation about like, hey, our conversation was closer to like, hey, like things are gonna be tougher for you to like get recognized. So you got to work extra hard, but the sheer survival part of it was never even on the table. And so I can't even imagine like what that conversation has to be like for somebody who's 12, 13 years old, let alone, I mean, your son's not even at that point yet, Right. So it's like, where did you guys land? Like,
so we ultimately agreed that maybe now is too young, just because we value the bit of innocence that they are entitled to as kids. And this is going to sound weird, but just walk with me here. We didn't think it was fair to introduce them to the real world now. Like that is just so crazy for me to even say, because who knows how can shape how they go, how they grow, how they develop, what their thoughts are and things like that. And we don't really want to rob them of that right now. So the one thing she and I agreed with is we've got to have a more keen eye to things like this and be ready, because I'm a firm believer that this is not the last of this we're going to see. This is not the last of racially trying incidents that my family's going to be faced with. So she and I have to do our due diligence to make sure we are aware and that we provide some level of protection for them while we can. And there's going to come a point, and I think it's going to be younger than when my parents had to sit down and talk with me, to when they're going to start asking questions. And then hopefully with she and I being prepared, we'll be able to come in, share that knowledge that we have, and really start to prepare them for what the world's going to look like for them. So
can you, I'm super curious, like, can you go back to like when you had to have that conversation with your parents? Like,
absolutely.
What was, like, like, were you aware of the issues prior to the conversation? Like, how did your perspective of the world change afterwards? Like, can you just like walk me through like the before and after that talk?
Man, can I give you a crazy but real story?
Please. To
kind of answer your question. I've got a sister that's 1 year older than me. So anyway, I was 15, just got my permit, and my sister and I were driving. We're going, showed you how old I am. We were actually racing to get to Blockbuster to return the VHS before the expiration. I remember that. And so I was begging her to drive, and she was like, let me get us to Blockbuster, and then once we get to Blockbuster, we'll trade out and you drive home. So did that, and dude, I hop in the driver's seat, I lean it all the way back, I got the music blasting, right? Dude, we pull out of this Blockbuster parking lot, not even 10 seconds, flashing lights. So for context, this is a 1989 Chevrolet Blazer. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is circa 1997, 98. So we get pulled over. I got the music going, right? I'm oblivious. I'm like, man, I must have been speeding, whatever. So I got the music going. Cop comes to the door. He's like, sir, and I think he even said, sir. He said, sir, can you turn your music down? And dude, I snapped back at him. I'm like, man, I can hear you just fine. And so my sister grabs my arm. I'll never forget this. She grabs my arm and she's like, turn the music down. Now, why she didn't just turn it down herself, I don't know. But she grabs my arm. She looks me dead in the eye. She says, turn the music down now. So I'm like, dang, chill. So I went, turned it down. And I asked the officer just with all boldness, I was like, hey, man, why'd you pull us over? This is how wild I was, dude.
Yeah.
But you're 15. You know how it is when you're 15. You don't think about anything. Like, hey, man, why'd you pull us over? And he's like, well, I need to see your license. And so I showed him my permit and I was like, hey, my sister's license. I just got my permit. This is cool, and give it to him. And he's really cool about it. But he was just like, I'm gonna run back to the car, I guess run everything, So he comes back. I was like, sir, I need you to tell me why you pulled me over. And so he leans over and looks at my sister, and he was like, ma'am, you need to drive. Your brother needs to sit in the passenger seat. And so, dude, I start getting heated. I can drive. The law says that with a permit, I have to be in the car with a license. And I start, and I'm yelling.
Yeah, you started pleading your shit. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Lawyer Ronnie came out. Yeah.
Again, 15 years old. So my sister takes her seatbelt off, reaches over, grabs me by the shirt. We're like nose to nose. She says, get out of the driver's seat, do whatever this man tells you to do, and shut up. And so I'm looking at her like, what is you on?
Yeah, what the hell?
So I'll never forget this, man. I go to unlock the door, and as soon as I put my hand on the door handle to open it, he reaches, puts his hands on his tool or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I panic. I'm like, whoa.
Slow down.
So I look at my sister and I'm like, I don't know what to do right now. And so I turn back and look at the cop, and he said, you're cool. I'm doing this for my safety and yours. Never forget that. And dude, that's when I'm starting to realize like something is happening. Yeah. So I get out of the car super slowly, go to the passenger side, whatever. Thankfully, my sister is able to resolve the situation. We got pulled over because I turned out of Blockbuster without turning the blinker on. But I know it was for the loud music. But anyway.
Yeah. You're excited though. You probably did. You're probably just whipping that around.
Yeah, dude. I was listening to some Twista, some adrenaline rush, That's showing my age here. But so that when we get in the car, my sister didn't say anything to me. And we get home, and my sister just she unleashes on me like, you cannot do that. You don't understand. You put your life in danger, da. And I'll never forget, my mom comes in. She's trying to figure out what happened. And my sister tells her everything. And then I could sense my mom's whole being just shift because she knows it's time. So my mom says, Ronnie, go to your room, get comfortable, come back down to the table. We have to talk. And I'm just thinking, what is happening? Like, I'm thinking I'm from another planet. Like, what is going on? And we sat down at the dinner table that night, and then she broke everything down to me, dude. And you talk about a night that I couldn't sleep, just really starting to be OCD about, when the next time I get pulled over, how I'm supposed to act, and the reasons why. And it was just a reality for me that, up until that point in my life, I'm just living young, wild, and free. And now I'm just kind of like, nah, man, if I want to survive, I got to play a different game, And I hate to say it like that, but I can't continue to bring that energy to law enforcement officials, because if I come across the wrong one,
yeah.
So
it's game over. Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
It's just crazy that like your perception of the world was this like free world of like that you can do anything. The authority has your back and wants to like is only looking out for you. That's all kind of just shattered in like an evening, and it's like, and I think I told you the story that I told you this, like the story that happened to me, like at my mom's house when, like, ironically, my black neighbor called the cops on me, like breaking into my own car.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, but like the story of like, I rushed into the house. I didn't even close the garage because, I had to take a shit. Like, honestly, like this is not even for humor. Like, genuinely, like ran in. It was like in the middle of college. I was like, I gotta get in this bitch. I gotta take care of business. And then just being my flighty self, I just started playing video games after the fact. Like, forgot about the car, forgot about the garage. My neighbor calls the cops on my house because it looks like somebody just like got in there and is messing around because like the car door was still open. I think the keys were still inside, like when I looked at it. But basically, like, cops came inside of the house with like their guns out and was like searching it. And then I come out of my room. I'm like, what? Like, because I looked out the window and I saw a cop car. I was like, oh, I wonder what's happening. And then when I see them in my house and then they point the gun at me and my pants are at my ankles because I came out of the bathroom into my bedroom. I'm by myself. It doesn't matter. And I was trying to put some clothes on. And then they got this gun in my face. And it's crazy to me that it never occurred to me that something could happen to me. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy that like the difference between just like brown and black right now is like that big of a divide. I feel like I'm talking too much for this whole situation, but like what I can't believe either is that like you're also told that if you work hard enough, if you like press enough against the obstacles and you make things happen for your life so that you're at a better position class-wise, that things could be different. So it's like, is that a lie too? The American dream? Because then if you're still kind of like pressing forward and you're working hard and all this stuff, but then all the systemic stuff, like it doesn't go away.
Well, I don't think it's a total lie. I mean, I've never invited you to my house, which is my fault because you're a friend of mine. But I look at where we live, and I look at my wife, number one, who I mean, she did work hard. Now, has she had to work harder than some of her dental constituents? I believe so. Does she still have to work harder than them? I believe so. Were things handed to her like they were for them? Not necessarily. So yeah, I think some artifacts of the American dream still are there for people of color, but I just think the road to get there is a little more
winding.
Yeah, a little rougher terrain. And I'll give you an example, man. At a residency, my wife's a dentist. At a residency, my wife had dreams of just starting her own practice. And she kind of got conditioned over years of being in dental school that this is the way you do it. You need to go talk to this guy. He's going to tell you where to build. He's going to tell you where not to build. He's going to tell you how many patients you're going to see, da, 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 da. And so my wife was like, okay, I want this area of town. And for her to be told, nah, you're not going to build there, and really not give any reasons why. But then 2 classes after her, you see a Caucasian male build in that same area where my wife had initially intended to build, and he's doing crazy. Now doing crazy in a good way in terms of business. Now my wife is in an okay area. I mean, we're not hurting, thankfully, but we assess those 2 things, and it's kind of like,
oh yeah, it's clear as day.
Yeah, and it was so funny because you're kind of blind to it initially. What's that?
Like, were his grades better? Like, was he a better student?
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, my wife was number 2 in her class. She was chief resident. All that. This dude, like, I mean, and nothing against anybody that goes to dental school and residency, but it's not like he was achieving at that level,
Yeah. No, so it's clear as day why.
Yeah.
We don't have to say it. Like,
right. And
but that's what I mean. Oh, go ahead.
Because if I could say this, and I heard this in a Rick Ross Jay-Z track, but people, there are a lot of people that wonder like why people that look like me, when they do achieve some level of success, why it's such a big deal, why we got to get gold chains, why we got to get J's, why we got to get the fly whip, because we had to really grind to get that. You know what I'm saying? And certain members of society want to downplay that. And it's like, dude, if you understood what that individual had to do to achieve that, which is a microcosm of the success you probably achieved, you'd probably understand it. So I just had to say that.
No, I totally feel that, because it's like they always make the joke of like, oh, like you shouldn't have to like act like you shouldn't have to like look like you're rich, like you should just be rich or something like that. It's like, but you don't understand that Mark Zuckerberg dressed in a black like shirt every day or whatever to what he is now. Like, yo, that dude went to Harvard. Like, you don't just get into Harvard without understanding money to a certain extent. Like, Jay-Z did not go to Harvard. Like Rick Ross, like he felt poverty. And so like I understand wanting to taste it a little bit. Like, believe me, like you don't have to, I get it. So it's like, it's not the same. Like, it's not the same experience. And I think that's my problem. It's like all the stuff that and thank God I've cleaned up my Facebook feed and like Instagram feed over the past couple of years. I don't see any bullshit on there. No one's saying any dumb stuff. But like, I know there are people that are like, well, he might have been doing something wrong, according to George Floyd, right? But it's like, okay. And but my problem with that is, even if he was, is anybody worth dying for anything? Like, is anybody like worth being murdered for any crime? Like, do you believe in capital punishment? And if so, do you believe in capital punishment without due process? You know what I mean? So it's like, if your answer is yes to either one of those, first off, you're a piece of shit. Like like, you're a piece of shit. If you believe in capital punishment and you call yourself a Christian, that's bullshit too. But also, if you call yourself, and there's a lot of overlap there, Ronnie. You know that. There's a lot of overlap between hardcore Christians and believing that you can kill somebody for their crimes. But then also, like, if you believe the capital punishment without due process, then you're also shitting on America and what you believe, like, why we even seceded from the great nation of Great Britain. You know what I mean? Like, so that we can have our own rules, our own due process and stuff like that. And nothing in there says we can just be like lopping off people's heads no matter what. Right. You know? And so, but there's people that are like, well, what if he did something wrong? Like he put himself in that position. At no point do you get to endanger somebody's life for anything. Like, just morally, like, what? I can't even believe, like, I think even the issue was over like a fake $20 bill or something like that.
$20, dude. $20.
I'm telling you, like, the thing, like I said, like, the gap between like black and brown right now that I'm experiencing that does not happen to me over $20. Like, it's not even and I'm like a scrawny Asian kid that, you're probably like, oh, he's probably got a great future in math. Like, he might be like an engineer or some shit. So what does that mean? Does that mean that I have like more value to you? But it's like, but then how do you also say that we're all equal? Like, so are you going to admit that you don't feel that we're all equal? Because it's those same people that are fighting for what America means, that, everybody's equal here. Everyone's got the same shot. But then you don't even want to play by the same competition rules as everybody else. You want the advantage? Like, that's not real meritocracy to me. So that's what I guess that's where I'm like getting at. It's like that version of America feels more and more like an illusion as all this stuff like comes to light. That these same people that, and I'm not even just talking about white people. Like, like, there's people of color that believe this. There's people of like my color that believe this. Like, my race.
Mine too. Yeah, that's
like
real.
And so it's like, I'm not just saying, yo, white people, like there are these beliefs that are perpetuated by people of color too, that yeah, you can get far, you can keep working. But if we're not all, but to me, it's like, if you're not really all playing by the same rules, if you're not all playing by the same, like, if you don't have the same playing field, then how much of a winner are you really? Like, how much of like impact are you really making if you're so much farther ahead in the game than somebody else? Like,
right.
I don't know. That's weakness to me. Like, I can't even. I'm trying to like formulate my thoughts around that, but I feel like I'm getting closer. You know what I mean? It's like,
do you think it's based out of fear?
Absolutely. Absolutely think it's based out of fear, because you're afraid that if you don't have a leg up, you might not really make it. But to me, again, like, that's where the weakness comes from. It's like, it comes out of like that feeling that, one, that insecurity that if you don't have all the advantages, you might not win. And if you don't win, that means you failed in life or something like that. But to me, I think what's funny about that idea is that it's usually held by the same people that preach that America is this meritocracy. You know, it's this like place where, like I said, like, if you work super hard, if you do all the right things, if you're like this moral upstanding person, that you'll get far in life. And then they believe that like it's some sort of like competition. I mean, because what's also ingrained in America is this like very capitalistic like nature, right? And so these same people that like preach that language, that's preach that philosophy, are the same people that want to keep people of color down, because then they can get the leg up, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like, do you really want to win on like, to me, I think it's whack to say, like, if we played basketball and then I beat you, but I had 15 points I was up 20 already with a handicap. Like, did I really win?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we're both able-bodied, about the same height. Like, I'm better than you, have a better jump shot, you know, like, and I'm still up 20 to start, and then I beat you. Like, can I look you in the eye and say I really won?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like that. I think that's what my issue is right now with like this like cognitive dissonance between those type of people that believe that kind of thing, and then they're also defense that of like this whole like, oh well maybe George Floyd did something wrong that like got him in that position. It's like, nah, dude, because it shouldn't matter, because you know for a fact that you would not be in that situation if you had a fake $20 bill. You know it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because I know I wouldn't, and I'm not even wealthy, and I'm not white, and I know for a fact I wouldn't be in that on my stomach like that. You know?
And you know, I had a guy I grew up with ask me this. And it was so funny, I didn't even think of it, but he was like, so you mean to tell me George Floyd can go in and allegedly use a counterfeit 20 and then his family not get to see him again, but we can go to South Carolina to where Dylan Roof came in and killed 9 people in the church,
mm-hmm.
and his family still gets to see him. They even put a bulletproof vest on this dude when taking him in custody. Like, I need for somebody to explain to me what the difference is here, even though you and I know, but I need somebody with an opposing belief system to make sense of that for me.
Yep.
And I'm willing to listen, but these are some of the harsh realities. It's just like, you know, I can't imagine. And just disclaimer, I don't feel like I have it in my heart to take another person's life. I don't care how mad I get. I'm not saying I can't. I don't feel like I have it in my heart. But I think about
Probably for the
like,
best.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think in my heart, what if something goes on here and I make up in my mind that it's okay to go in and kill 9 people in a church? What does my fate look like? Do I get a day in court? Odds are I don't. You know?
No, you don't. I don't
You
think you get
know?
out of that church. Yeah.
Yeah. So like somebody needs to explain to me the difference, you know?
Yeah. But it's also
Anyway.
I don't even.
And I'm asking
think-
for answers that I'll never get. Let me just say
Man.
that.
No, I'm not even trying to answer that, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because again, like we know why, but it's how like, it's so rooted in the history of how Africans even came to America, how Black culture got created, even like it's. I mean, obviously, you can speak to it a lot, like more succinctly and clearly than I can, but from my outsider's perspective, like if a country sees a certain type of person as as like the equivalent of animals, it's very tough to rip that out of the DNA. Like in a couple century, like in a century, like
No.
not even 2 centuries, like it feels like, isn't it true that there's some people whose like grandparents were slaves still?
Absolutely.
Like it's that close. And like, and I think of like the family traumas that I have and how some of them still pass on generationally. Like, I think there's something spiritual about that, you know, like something a little bit more like metaphysical that's happening there. And so, and it like those kind of traumas like reoccur in my life and in my sister's life and my cousin's lives from like 2 generations before. Like, it's not crazy for me to believe that all these things are still happening to Black people because of this, like, of those generational traumas that are happening due to slavery and stuff. And then on the same thing that's happening to like to white people and other people in with more privilege. Like, if you feel this certain way about these like set of people, that shit, like whether you want it or not, like can pass down to your descendants, like whether if it's like through like the language you use at home. Because even if I think about it, like the way even my mom would talk about other Filipino people, like to me, when we don't even live in the Philippines anymore, we live in America. Of course, it like kind of altered like how I think of like the other, because in the Philippines there's like, I don't know if you know this, there's like over like 100 different languages, and like there's like a fuck ton of islands, so it's like it's very regionalistic. And so like even in my culture, like I have these like weird biases against other regions of this country I didn't ever grew up in, but it's because like my mom passed that down. And so I can't even imagine like if you live in the country and your parents are telling you a certain thing about how these people like whether it might be like even like indirect, if like even if it's just like you're at the mall, like say you're walking down the Summit and like a Black family walks up and then you're kind of like hold your purse a little tighter or something. Those things like like communicate so clearly to children. And so I can imagine like how it's so hard to rip that feeling and that like belief about Black people from like the United States DNA when it's so ingrained that to look at Black people as like a subhuman almost, you know, like you're just here to like provide culture and labor, like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. And entertain me, and then go do whatever,
and then go away.
Right.
Like,
shut up and dribble. You know.
But yeah, I don't. I think that's the thing that's like really. I've been really like, processing a lot the past couple of days, like how how severe like the difference in macro stature, I guess, like there even is between like me and you. And it didn't really hit me as hard 2 weeks like before the Aubrey Ahmad thing. Ahmad
Arbery. Yeah.
Ahmad Arbery. Like it like started like really like nip at my like really poke at my heart. Like, yo, man, that dude was just running. Like, you know? And even if he was looking around the house, like, okay, you don't get to die for that. Because the amount of times, bro, like this past quarantine where I've like walked around the summit with my dog and like I'll peek into like stores, hardcore, like looking in there. Like,
Wow.
you could think like, yo, this fool like is planning, and I'm doing that shit every day. Every day. I'm like, oh, what's Lululemon got in this bitch?
Like,
You know what I mean?
hands
Like,
on the glass, period.
Yeah. Not once it's secure.
I wouldn't dare.
Not once. Yeah, like security passes by and goes, you know what I mean? To me, I was like, oh shit, I should not have been doing that. But then, like, I'll be at the Apple store like this. You know, like,
That's crazy.
that's what I'm saying, dude. So like,
Because I wouldn't even dream of doing that. That's wild.
bro, I know. And it wasn't until afterwards I was like, holy hell. Like, and then the Ahmad stuff happened, and I was just like, yo, if that was him and he just started running after, they would have thought he stole something. And at the summit, and basically Vestavia Hills.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which
Zone for Birmingham, but still.
Like, come on, it's Cahaba Heights. Come on, man. Like, I can't even joke. Like, I know where I live. And for all my California friends that are listening to this, it's basically like the equivalent of like Santana Row in like San Jose, or like like the Roseville Galleria in Sacramento. It's like that. It's like if I live there and I'm peeking in at the Apple store and it's empty in there and I should not be in the mall. Like that's basically what I was doing. Dang. So very sus activity every day. But dude, and anyways, to come back around, like the Ahmad stuff really hit me because it's like, if he was participating in that type of behavior and started to run, it would have been a very different situation. He would not have gotten a salute from the security guy. And then now, I didn't realize how wide the gap was. And like how much I feel like even more like, okay, like what do I do now as another person of color who before I thought like I had, like, how the fuck can I help? You know?
Exhibit A. I mean, seriously, that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing, Josh. Like, you are willing to have the conversation. You are willing to listen. It's like, it's hard. And I hate to do this, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I feel like you're closer to it than most. So it's like, I don't want to say you got to pass, but it's just like that layer of comfort is there because I'm like, man, I know this dude is going through some stuff too. You know what I'm saying? But I believe and all of my Black friends that, we've been really active in getting our feelings out about this. The one consistent is, man, if we could just have a conversation, if we could just have a civil, understanding conversation. We're not asking you to fix anything. We're not asking you to solve anything. We want you to know where we're coming from. We want to know where you're coming from. That's why you see on social media all these this content about the silence hurts more. The silence, like, nah, man, like if you are white right now and you got feelings about it, you need to be speaking up. And none of this PC stuff, all lives matter, none of that stuff. Call it for how you see it, even if you disagree. Call it for how you see it, and be willing to listen to someone else that has an opposing view, and let's be civil about it. We'll work on the change at some point, but right now, in the heat of it, we need to know what's going on, you know? So that's why I say that's why I say to you, I don't think you need to worry about how you're helping, because this right here,
Yeah.
this is exhibit A.
I'm almost trying to speak for like the rest of my brethren, you know? It's
Okay.
just like,
Okay.
because, you know, as a model minority and stuff, like, you don't have, you know, especially Asian Americans, like, you know that there's stuff against you, but since you can skate by, it's easy to just be like, well, fuck it, if I'm not gonna get caught, like, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, and I was gonna ask you that once you got through. I want you to lean into that. Like, I wanna know more about that. Unpack that a little bit for me.
I don't know. I don't know.
Like you gave a great example at the summit, which was good. Do you have another at least one other example of like?
I bet there's a bunch, man.
Okay,
like,
it's hard. I get that.
I mean, I bet there's a bunch. I mean, even the example I shared earlier about the police at my house, like, the cop was saying sorry to me after for even pointing the gun at me. You know, he was like apologetic and stuff like that, and I was so in shock after that. I was like, didn't tell anybody for like a while, because I was just like, I can't believe I got away with that. And so I got out of that like scotch-free. I wasn't even doing anything wrong. I was in my house.
Right.
But we know that there have been black people that have been killed in their own house for being in their house, because the cops didn't think that was their house. Like, I got to say, you know what I got to say, Ronnie? Look at the photo on the wall. I live here. This is my dog. That's my Xbox. You know, other people don't have that ability and opportunity. And so my shock of like, oh, fuck, I got away with that. Well, all right, let's just keep going. Let's just keep moving forward instead of using that as a moment to like, be fueled to understand the wrongs that are happening to my black friends. Like, it's easy to just be like, fuck it, let's just keep moving forward. Like, let's just see how much else we can get away with, like, that we're not supposed to, you know? Here's another thing I kind of feel is like, my friend, for everybody listening here, Ronnie and I basically are coworkers, because his employer is one of my clients. But the way I like to treat my clients is like, I want to feel like I work there. Like, I want to feel like I'm on your team. Like, it's us against the world. Like, that's how I like to operate. And so, but at the end of the day, I'm still a CEO. Like, I own my business. I have my own rules. If my clients don't like it, let me go find your competitor and work with them. Like, eat my balls. You know what I mean? But so part of that thing that I do is I almost rebelliously dress casual to any and all like business events as much as possible. Like, if I can show up to a dressed up thing with some old school Vans, I'm doing it. Like, if I can show up to a meeting in some Blazers, I'm doing it almost on purpose to show that, well, also to myself, that like, I've created this autonomy in my life, like, and I value that more than the money. Like, you know what I mean? But check it out. Like, I get to co-opt black urban culture in the way I dress to a certain extent, and show up to deal like meetings that could be $30,000 for my business because I look like this. And I get to say, I like, because I look like this, because of everything that like comes with looking like you're Asian. So what are the stereotypes? Are there like really good in school, like pretty docile dude, like, you know, everything that comes with that. So you see this juxtaposition of like streetwear, urban culture, even the way I talk. I curse in meetings, like
Fact.
on purpose, almost like to show you that like I'm here with or without you, and I'm going to keep winning. And if you don't want anything to do with this, like say hi to me and your competitor in like 6 months when we're crushing you. And I get to talk like that and dress like that in work scenarios because of that juxtaposition, because of that privilege, that like everything that my ethnicities stereotypes come with, you know, like I don't know if my black friends can do that. I think if my black friends, even back home in California, show up to a meeting in a black hoodie, even though it's a Lion King one, like, because I've done that. I've shown up to meetings that are like
Lion King hoodie, yeah.
You know, like they're 12-month contracts, like for a big price, like, you know what I mean? I'm in a Lion King hoodie and some green blazers. Like, if some of my black friends go to meetings like that, are they taking it seriously? Are they listened to? Do they even let them in the building? Because some of these buildings I'm walking into like that, the big Wells Fargo one here, you know, do they let them in? Like, do they believe that this kid with a black hoodie with an iPad like is in there for a big meeting? I don't know. Like, you tell me. Like, but that's where I really like, now that I'm unpacking that, it's like, oh, what the hell? I think now we just have to understand, like, where do you really stand and what can you do to help the people that might not have the same advantages as you? Like, you don't have to be in their boat to understand that their boat's fucking sinking. You know? Like, I can see you from here, my dude. Like, there's an ocean. There's like a big like swath of ocean between us, but I can see you're sinking. What can I do from here to like support you? Do I send you some, you know, like, what do I do? Like, but like, I guess what you're saying.
Or
it's like,
I may be closer to the shore to where I can alert somebody to come in. Yeah.
Like, because now if I get to have this hoodie on and talk to people in more powerful positions and be like almost like tell your story, you know, or like kind of pass along, hey motherfuckers, like those dudes, like you're saying, like those dudes are sinking. You need to do something about it. Like right now. And I think if there's enough of us that are in the same, like yelling the same thing, even if they've got their headphones on and they're the lifeguard just like not paying attention,
yes.
You know, man, it'll probably be loud enough. Hopefully.
Dude, I love how you drew that up. That was solid.
But it's tough, man. Like,
can I shout you out though? Because dude, I don't think you realize just how gangsta you come into, and I won't say the name of the company, but you come into our business meetings just dressed like you. Again, we are in Birmingham, Alabama. Socially, we're at least 30 years behind. So the conscience of a lot of people here still very limited, and they still want to visually see somebody a certain way and automatically categorize them. So I take all this into account when I was just meeting you for the first time. And yeah, you're right. I'll never forget. You had them Vans on. I was like, who's this dude? And I was like, okay, he got the camera, whatever, then that was it. And dude, you came in with some absolute fire on your feet the next week or a couple weeks later. And I was like, this dude, I got to know who this dude is because he's speaking my language with the sneakers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's not being spoken anywhere else.
Yeah.
In the room, yeah.
But to echo your point, it's like, as we got to know each other, you realize, okay, I'm more into Jordans than I am sneakers per se. But I was sharing with you, like, man, you know what I would give to be able to like come in this meeting comfortable, me with my J's and a ball cap on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we loosely kind of peel back the layers of this society that takes place. I mean, I'm not saying Birmingham, Alabama is the only place, but we're dealing with in that moment. For me, I'm 6'3", 270 plus pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, as I navigate through these streets every day, one of the repeated thoughts in my mind is, most people are going to see you as an intimidating force. What can you do, Ronnie Gatry, to ease the conscience of people that you're walking the streets with? So, and I got to give shout out to my wife, because she put me on this stuff, and I didn't realize the value of it at the time. But, I got to wear fluorescent colors. I got to, I'm a happy person anyway. I got to smile a lot more. You know what I'm saying? When I speak, I have to be heard, and I have to, but still be calm, to a degree. It's so weird, but the vernacular's got to be sharp, because if there's an ounce of ebonics, then here we go with he could be threatening. I may have to take this dude out. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, why? Because you called me out, and Josh, this is why like, you're such a valuable friend to me. But you called me out, and you were like, dude, you're not comfortable in that stuff. Up here looking like Carlton Banks. That's not you. I
didn't say that.
Well, another friend of ours said that allegedly, but it's cool. I wouldn't trip it off of it.
Yeah.
But once we started to get to know each other, you could sense where my heart was and like where my passions were. And you knew that what you were seeing in the workplace wasn't me, especially when you start to realize, like, I may not be as current, but I still vibe a little bit, So
yeah, you're old, but you're not that old. Yeah.
Thank you. But again, I think the secret sauce into this is taking the time, being intentional, having the conversation, learning about the person, and accepting the fact that it's okay that we can be different. Like, we can still coexist.
In trying to just bridge the gap between you and like the base loving playing field of everybody else, you've already, like, say 0 to 100, you were at minus 20. You had to get up 20 points just to play the game,
just
right?
To get started. Yep.
Just to get started, just to be taken seriously. Imagine if we were all, so basically what you're telling me is, like, you're held to a higher standard, right? Imagine if everybody was on this zero playing field. Everybody was at zero. And you're working just as hard as to just be taken seriously. And you already add that 20 points that you're already putting on. Like, how much farther ahead could you really get? Like, how much of these motherfuckers are you really beating out because of the effort that you have to even put in just to be taken seriously? So, like, to me, it's like, for anybody that does actually, like, that wants everything to stay the same, wants everything to, or is actually even, like, not believing that there is even a problem, they don't see color, which I want to get into, because I don't think that is the goal. Like, after, like, my thoughts this last week, if you really believe that everything should stay the same, there hasn't been a problem, all that shit, I'm not gonna get into the anyways, like, you also have to let go of the belief that you have to let go of that American dream bootstraps myth. Then you can't have both, is all I'm saying. I think it's so, like, to me, if you believe everything's okay and you believe that there's no racism problem, that these cops are just doing what they doing the right thing, that there is no economic wealth gap between blacks and whites and brown people and immigrants and all that stuff. If you don't believe all that stuff, you can have that. But once you start saying that, you just got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, you just got to, like, work hard, you just got to go to school, you just got to go get that job, or, start your own business. Like, if you're not happy, like, you can't have both. Like, you can't, because then it's fundamentally not true. Because the way things are right now is Ronnie starts at minus 25, minus 50 sometimes, like, depending on where we live. I'm at minus 15 minus 10. And that's that. That's how it works. Like, so if you like that, more power to you, but you can't have the second thing. You can't also believe that if you and I put in the same effort as person X, that we're all going to end up at the same point.
It's a myth.
It's a myth. Like so to me, you can have one or the other. You can't have both. And pick one. And that's okay with me. Like, I'll respect you. Like,
I'll respect you, yeah.
Like the next person that comes in and says all the first shit, like, everything's great, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't believe all this stuff. And then they disregard the myth. I'm shaking their hand. Whatever. Like, at least you know. At least you know
you're real about it. Yeah.
At least you know. But you can't have both. Is there any part of you right now that, like, wants all your white friends to explicitly state where they stand?
Yes. Because it would confirm so much for me, because that there are people that I communicate with that I know at the end of the day are going to turn their back on me if it comes down to it. So it's like surface level, oh yeah, Ronnie's cool, we'll go have lunch, we may even go play golf or something like that. But at the end of the day, if they're put in that situation, I know it's going to be, Ronnie who? You know what I'm saying? I know that. And for me, right now, with things the way they are, it would comfort me to know if that person's thoughts would align with that, whether it's good or bad. I would respect that person so much, and it would do so much for me just to know where you stood on that. So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely. And I don't want to find out through silence. I don't want to find out that way. Be an adult and speak up and say either A, I support the actions of the law enforcement officials in Minnesota in that situation, or B, I do not support that, and I know there's more to this story than what certain people think. Give me one of those two. I'm going to respect both if you come forward with it.
To me, if you haven't said anything, I'm disappointed. Like, because this isn't the time, I don't think, to, oh, well, they know how I feel. No. This is not the time for that, my dudes.
No.
I think this is the time to make it explicit where you stand. And it's not because of some race war. I don't want that. No, it's so that we can have a conversation either way. Because, one, again, if this is a meritocracy, because that's my thing. If you really believe that's what America's about, right? Which a lot of people that believe that a certain thing, that's what they believe. Like, that's part of their belief system. Like, if you really believe that, then be prepared to debate. And if you're not good at debating, get good. You know what I mean?
It's that simple. Yeah.
It's because if you get out debated, then you lost. I mean, you don't have to believe it, but just because you're bad at it doesn't mean that you should not talk and discuss. Because maybe if you're good enough, you might sway me. But you know what I mean? But like, if you're not even going to entertain the conversation or like at least put your thoughts behind it, I'm not even asking for your money towards certain things or, you know, your energy towards certain things. It's like, just draw the line. Like, where do you stand? Because I have to know almost on a moral level, you know, because as your friend who does not look like you, who doesn't have the same background of wealth as you, I need to know where you're at for not even people that look like me, but people just in general that do not have the same advantages as you. Like, where are you at on your human score, my dude? Like, I almost want to know that. Because it's not, like, to a certain extent, it's like there are people who are disenfranchised on so many different levels. Like, where's your empathy game at? Like, where's your empathy game at? Do you call yourself, especially these people? My big thing this last couple months is like, especially living here in the South where it's so pronounced, the faith-based part of people's lives is so pronounced, it's so vocal, it's so on the forefront. And no matter what your faith is, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Jew, Buddhist, Muslim, it's all kind of saying a lot of the same stuff. And even if you, I made this joke the other day, it's like, even if like you don't subscribe to all that, but like you just like Avatar: The Last Airbender and like you like their spirituality stuff, it's all about the same stuff. It's that we're all one people going through a lot of the same stuff. We're in no position to judge because we don't have the macro sight. We're not omniscient creatures, so we can't judge. It's all the same shit. It's all asking for empathy. It's all asking for like understanding. And so to me, it's like, if you call yourself a man or woman of faith, of spirituality, and you're still on the side of being quiet and not reaching out to people. And what I'm not saying is like, I didn't call Ronnie and was like, hey, Ronnie, you're black. Like, you feeling all right? Like, because that's different. Like, that might be fucked up, like, to a certain extent, you know?
Yeah.
But like, if you're not putting it out there, especially with the mediums that we have of social media, if you're not making it clear where you stand, if you're not like liking your friends' posts of, you know, especially your black friends' posts about the certain topics and like showing support in just a small way, like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
yeah,
you know, I just need to know, because then I need to make some decisions on my own. Like, you know, and not even like, oh, like you're dead to me sort of situation, but it's just like, who are you as a person? Because also for me, like, I have this belief system that if I'm taking your energy, like in conversation, right? I'm consuming that. I'm taking that energy into my body. Do I want your energy? Like, how much of it do I want? You know?
Right.
Like, because that colors my fucking aura and my spectrum, you know, on the inside. Like, I have to make that decision. Like, not that you're a bad person, but it's just like, I have to make a decision for myself that I might not want as much of your energy in my life. And I think that's fair. I feel like
yeah.
You know.
But the thing is, Josh, that I really wish more people would come to realize, none of us had a choice in something as simple as this. None of us had a choice. Like, if you got a problem with being black, go to your God and tell him that. But the me out of it, man. I'm just here dealing with what I got.
That's what I don't understand.
I hate to say this, but if I had a firmware update to where I could switch this to white, man, I would have done that joint. I would have done that joint years ago.
It's like, why? It's we can't get it. I mean, it's the same thing for me with like sexuality and stuff, and that's a whole nother pod. But like,
sure. Why
would anyone pick the hardest setting on the game? Like, what? Like, this is real stakes. Why? What? Like, I understand in a video game, if like you played it through once, it was too easy. You try. No, this is my one go, bro. Like, I'm trying to get the gold at the end of this fucking rainbow, baby. Like,
right.
Why would I put the settings at the what? It makes no sense.
It's crazy. Of all things as humans that you can find to define me as greater than or less than, you pick the one thing I can't control.
I can't do anything on this.
I respect it if you don't like my attitude. I respect that. You got a reason for not liking that. I respect if you don't respect the OG bread threes that I wore yesterday. You're not Team Jordan. Okay.
You're an Adidas guy. Yeah, I get it.
You're an Adidas guy. I respect you, man. But dude, I can't pull this off.
Yeah, you can't
give me a break. Give me a break for that at least. Like, know that I didn't choose the blue pill. You know? So anyway, that's just something that's always been at my heartstrings. I'm like, man, if people would really take time and really take that simple concept and really just like marinate on that and understand, like, we didn't choose this.
Yeah,
I think that could be a start to something good. But
exactly. And can I share? And again, I'm not over here just trying to be like, bro, I get it. I get fucking black people.
Nah,
Like, I'm not
Josh,
trying to do.
You good, dude.
Okay,
you
like,
are good.
but
Say
but
what
this
you got
is
to say, man.
But this is what I mean about like empathy, though. Like, and again, this is, I'm not nowhere near perfect on this, but this is where I feel like I'm progressing a little bit in understanding that everyone is not at the same like starting point, which could cause different traumas at different points, which could cause like a lot of stressors, which could you know what I mean? It's like, fuck, like I don't know what you've been up to. And I understand that something you didn't choose, such as your skin color, could cause a lot of fucked up stuff. And so I need to fucking ease off. So that's my background on the story. The story is about 2 weeks ago. Ronnie, you know this. I'm a fiend on the highway. Like I am
savage.
Mad Max on that bitch. Like, and honestly, one of my favorite things about moving to Alabama is there's no fucking rules on the highway around here. Like, that to me is the American dream. I love it. Like, because you know what I'll tell you about, Ronnie? This is a funny kind of sidebar. My first car was and shout out to my mom. She came correct. Like, I had a 2003, 2004 Honda Civic Hybrid. All right. And my friends used to shit on me for driving mad slow all the time. Come to find out, I was pressing the pedal all the way down. That motherfucker just wouldn't go. Like it wouldn't go. And they're like, "What, Jared? Why are you driving so low?" I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like, my shit is like down, and I'm like going 70, like 75, like nothing on the highway." And so when I got a regular car, like I got like a car, and I drove the same way, I'm like 80, 90, I'm like a 90, 95 on the highway. And everyone's like, "What the fuck happened, Josh?" I'm like, "I have a real car now." Like, I'm like, right, I don't have like an electric, toy car. Anyway, so I'm a fiend on the highway. I was driving down 280, which is not a freeway, but it's a big, it's going. It's a big straightaway. Yeah. And this dude pulled up on me behind me, just mad fast. And so, piece of shit I am, put the brakes on. I put the brakes on because I'm like, "Nah, you're not doing this to me, bro." Like, I'm going speedway. And then I was like, "Oh, hell no, I'm going to fuck with this guy." So then he zooms past me. I didn't see who it was. I zoom up ahead behind him, try to do my usual shit. And then I see in the mirror, like, he's black with dreads on and stuff. And I'm not saying I was scared of the guy. It just like, what really the feeling that hit me was like, it was so clear. It was just like, damn, this dude's black in Birmingham, Alabama. Stuff's probably a lot harder than it is for me. He doesn't need this shit from me today.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like, "Oh, dude, this dude might have a gun." Like, 'cause I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm a psychopath. Like, Ronnie knows I'm a psychopath. Like, my body like melds into the car. Like, I don't give a fuck. I feel invincible. Like, even when he's in the car, I'm driving terribly. Like,
dude, I'm bringing the pins next time I ride.
Yeah. My red sports. Like, anyways, it super calmed me down. It like super was like, fuck. And it sobered me up super hard, and I let him go, and he like drove off. And it just made me think, I'm like, I wish I had more of those moments where I didn't want to be right. I genuinely thought of, what is this person going through beyond me? Let me chill the fuck out. Like this person did something wrong, but they might be doing something wrong because of something that they can't control, that I can't control, and I need to understand that, and I need to like be empathetic to that. And instead of being a harsh force in opposition, I need to almost like, if they're coming to me, be like a net where they can crash into safely, instead of like fighting it. You know, instead just like
Right.
let you come
Yeah.
in soft, slow down. Like if I can be something that like can soften your landing, that should be my goal moving forward. And so like I'm putting it out in the universe, like I want more moments like that. Not where like somebody pulls up on me and I have to be a tough person, but like I wish,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we all need more of, you know?
More moments of understanding
Yeah, because it's like,
or in empathy, really. Yeah.
because even bringing it back to like the George Floyd thing, if that cop who we find out based on his history, he's probably a psychopath. If the cops understood like and had that moment, it could have been a very rehabilitative moment where it was like, hey man, like, why do you have this? How did you even get it? Because it's like the sheer fact that you have a fake $20 bill, you know what the real problem is there? Not that that person's using a fake $20 bill. There's two problems actually. One, somebody made that fake $20 bill. So that's
yeah,
the real problem. Go fucking fix that cop, right? And also two, that if somebody had that they felt compelled to need that money, like, you know, in that way. Like, why don't you check in there?
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's no necks get kneeled on if you have that moment in conversation. Because it wasn't a violent crime he was
Yeah.
doing, right? He was.
No one was hurt by his alleged counterfeit 20.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like if you have these moments of like empathy and sympathy for each other, man. But you know, that's utopia, I guess.
I know. Gee whiz. But it sounds so good and it feels really good.
It feels good when it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
So why don't people do it more? It's so easy. It's actually really hard. I take it back.
You think it's hard?
It's hard. People want to be right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like when
I
you
don't care
talk.
about
It's
that.
huh? You do
don't
care
care
about that.
about
Don't lie. Don't lie to me, friend.
Certain things.
Yeah.
You come at Michael Jordan in the 90s Bulls, I'm gonna be right on that.
That's a whole nother pod. I have decided, everybody, that we can't talk basketball with Ronnie anymore. It's not a real hooper. It's not a hooper. I can like
I put a few shots up back in my heyday.
yeah, like hook shots from the 3-point line, maybe with your big ass. But yeah, man, it's tough, man. I think it's hard.
You can have me thinking about that now. How right do I really want to be?
I think it's human nature, man. I think
You think so?
I think we want to be right because I think I'm no evolutionary person, but I believe in evolution. I want to make that clear, but I don't know enough about the actual science behind it to speak on it or evolutionary psychology. But I can imagine that it's some sort of manifestation of like showing like your alphaness, you know, like. If you're like super smart, like especially now, like intellectualism and like class now is like a big indicator of success instead of like hunting down like a fucking zebra or something, you know? If you're right a lot, if you show you're right a lot, it could mean like, yo, this dude like knows his shit. Like this guy's
Right.
somebody.
Yeah.
But but to like show like you're wrong and like take a step back and let someone else shine, that could be like a, you know, it's like a major point of insecurity, I'm sure.
Sure.
That a lot.
We covered a lot for sure. And, you know, I guess the high point is, and I know I've elaborated on this and focused on this a lot, but dude, just the conversation. Like I'm not going to say I thought I knew everything about you before this conversation, but I learned new things about you. You learned new things about me. I took you back to my youth or whatever.
Yeah.
And so the value is that each of us have grown. You know,
Yeah.
like we're better now than we were before we started this. You know what I'm saying? So like my utopian mindset just applies this theory globally to everyone, and it's like, how great can this place be? But there's a heaven for a reason, I guess. So
Yeah. And for anybody listening to, like, what I would suggest, if you are looking to start a conversation with somebody on the opposite perspective, come not wanting to be right. Like I think that's the big thing. Like, you have to come and not try to debate necessarily, to be confrontational. I think debate is fine, but don't come in confrontationally. Come in with a sheer, like, here's my facts, here's my experience, and what's your experience? And like, those are the questions you should ask. Like, what's your experience? Why do you feel this way? Like, and honestly, your goal should be to get to know and get to, like, feel where they're coming from. I think if you come in with the wanting to be right and wanting to win the argument, or anything else besides just trying to understand and feel, like, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to be defensive and not taking on that person's perspective. Like, and in doing that, like, you just wasted your time, honestly, and you might have made things worse. And so be careful. I think tread lightly. Like, go in, but know you're not there to do anything else besides just hear. Like, hear and listen. And if you care about that person, empathize with them.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like, just try. But I'm not even saying all that. That's if you care about the person. If you don't really care about the person, at least just hear it out. Like, there's no winners. Like, because honestly, if there is a winner from either side, nobody really wins. Because then it's like, because then we're not striving for, like, a shared goal,
Right.
We have to understand that we're all in the same. I'm saying this shit like I know anything, but but I truly mean that. Like, we have to understand we are all trying to get there together. Point X, Z, whatever. And if everyone feels like they have the right answer and come into conversations like that, like, it's gonna take way longer, dudes.
Yeah.
It'll take way longer, Yeah. Heavy stuff, man.
Hey, thanks for the time. Same time next week?
Yeah, I think that was good.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody, thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
I forgot that.
I forgot this was a podcast, honestly.
Me too. Me too. And we, at the time of this, we don't even know what the name of this is, but thanks for listening anyway.
Yeah.
I've had some thoughts on the name, but I'll share those with you offline because some of those are really racially insensitive. It wouldn't bode well at this point of the recording.
Honestly, the majority of people that are probably going to hear this are, like, people in our lives and friends and stuff.
True.
But
so, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. But, like, I would invite you to, like, if you are ever interested in talking more about this stuff, like, reach out. I'm available. I mean, Ronnie can speak for himself, but
no, I need it. I got ears.
Like, I think it's definitely worth talking about, and the more we can do that, the better.